It's gonna drift, it's gonna crash into something, right? Same with money. We think we'll just drift, and we'll just drift right into the dock and everything will be okay. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. That's exactly what's going to happen. Thank you. Okay, so as we were going through it, there's really only two sides. We can decrease our spending and we can increase our income. It's kind of funny. Time magazine from January of 1959 said crash diets don't work. I'm like, wow, we've come a long ways in that knowledge and understanding. And so what I'm suggesting to you in the area of money, crash money diets don't work. Right? There are things that you can do to manage your money, but if you go, hey, we spent $3,000 last month and we're going to spend $200 this month. Okay, that's not going to work out. That's not a good plan. So we can increase our cash flow by decreasing our expenses. So one of the things that my wife and I did to get our arms around a couple of categories is we would pull cash out at the beginning of the month and put it in an envelope for eating out. And when the money was gone, the party was over. But that took a couple of months of reviewing budgets and paying attention to go, this is an area we're really struggling. So to answer the question on could we get a little more detail? On food, it would be, here's the grocery budget, here's the eating out. So as a family, in the evening we go out, and then there's an eating out budget at lunch. I love packing my lunch. I'm a very simple person. My wife loves eating out. So that's her budget category. But we understood we're struggling in this area on eating out, so what can we do? So we pulled the cash out, put it in the envelope, and when the cash is gone,
would you talk a little bit more about the envelopes? How does that work?
Yeah, so one of the ways to do it would be every single budget line item that you have, you could pull that cash out at the beginning of the month and put it in an envelope. Now, in terms of paying a mortgage, we're probably not going to take cash down to the bank and give it to them. It'd probably be an electronic payment. So I think that there's some areas where it makes more sense than others, but shopping, that's another hard to control category. We pull that cash out at the beginning of the month, and then we know that we're not shopping until next month when that cash is gone. Does that help kind of clarify what this envelope system is? Yeah.
Starved to death.
It is not starved to death. That is not the plan. But it's definitely a way, when you start feeling the money, you spend a lot more when you're just swiping a card. Right? But when you have real cash in your hand, it becomes a member of the family if you like money. Like you're safer. If you're a spender, you're like, how do I get rid of this as fast as possible? So Dave Ramsey's grandma had a saying, there's a place that you can go when you're broke. To work! It's amazing. There's a lot of work out there. There's Chick-fil-A's. Hey, it's the fall. All these leaves are going to be coming down. You can walk through your neighborhood knocking on doors asking if you can rake leaves. If you do it in a nice part of town, they're going to pay you. Because they're afraid of raking leaves. They don't know what they're going to find. So you can increase your cash flow. So there's a part of our story is that yes, we got some promotions even though we had regular jobs, but I also bought a rental property in January of 2011. Right at the market hit the absolute bottom. Had nothing to do with me. It was all God's timing. But I had saved 8 years worth of real estate commissions. I used my regular W-2 job to pay all my bills, and I was still able to save money. And then every time I got a real estate commission on selling an expensive house, I would just save it because I was under the impression it takes money to make money. And so I had money available when I found a dumpy house. It might have been a house that Rick would have really liked to fix up. It needed a roof, paint, carpet, countertops, appliances. It needed a sewer line. Right? Does anybody realize that you have a line underneath your house that takes what goes into the sewer out to the public sewer? Yeah, those are about $7,000 to $15,000 to replace. But I knew it before I bought the house, so I was able to negotiate that in the deal and get a better deal on the house. So another way to increase the cash flow is by selling some stuff. As you sell stuff, you have more money. It is only for that 1 month, but it is more money. An accountability partner goes a long way too. When you're married, this is your spouse. This isn't your parents anymore. This is your spouse. But for you now, this could be your parents. Hey, I want to try and accomplish this goal in my finances. Can you help keep me accountable? Can you look at this stuff with me on a weekly basis and a monthly basis? And then ultimately, that's where we got into kind of creating the budget. We went through that all at the same time. So I talked about the accounting software. So my wife had absolutely no interest in my 3rd generation spreadsheet. It's like, that's crazy. I want nothing to do with any of that. Okay, so we're gonna have to figure out what's going to work. And so we ended up with Quicken. It's a personal accounting software where we're able to go through and do the same thing, where we can list out the categories of where the money went. And this one's kind of fun. There's some Frontier Airlines. This was back in 2013. It was actually, that's when we were going to Mexico because we were celebrating paying off our student loans.
Is this a paid advertisement?
This is not a paid advertisement. You know what I really should do is some affiliate marketing here, right?
Yeah.
Click on the link and buy the software, and then I get to make a couple bucks. No, I'm not doing that. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll consider that. Make a little bit more money.
Another income stream.
Yeah, and so that you can actually build your whole budget in here, and then the green is everywhere where you're doing a good job, and then the red is where, hey, we're over in this category. And let me tell you this, working in corporate finance, looking at hundreds of millions of dollars, do you think we were ever exactly on budget? No. It was never perfect. There was always puts and takes. Rick, in your career, have you ever seen a perfect budget?
No,
No.
never.
Yeah, so what happens is, as a financial analyst, my job was to look at the budget and to look at the forecast, and so the nuances between that don't really matter for this conversation, but then how much we spent. And so we're gauging from the budget to how much we spent, and then I had to tell the story. What happened? We said we were going to spend $100 million, and we spent $120 million. Where'd that $20 million go? Does that make sense? So give yourself some grace. It's going to take more than 1 month to learn this new skill. But in 60, 90 days, you should be well on your way to doing a good job with your budgets. One of the other nerdy things is you get to track your net worth inside a system like this. So assets, liabilities, the difference between the two is how much you're worth. So if I died today, right, all the bills get paid off, and then how much equity is left over. I could get really nerdy in some finance stuff here, but we'll go on. So we built the budget. Talk just for a moment on the debt snowball. So in Proverbs 22:7, it says, "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender," or slave of the lender. That sounds terrible, doesn't it? Who wants to be ruled over? Wait a minute.
You know, gang, in the next 10 years, most folks, by the time they're 25, they have a car loan, a student loan, and a couple of credit cards charged up. So we, as Americans, we come right out of the gates in our early adulthood, and we go right into slavery, right? And we spend the next 30 years paying on it.
That happens a lot. There was one family that I got together with. They had a couple of cars and then a whole bunch of credit cards. It was basically $93,000 in non-mortgage debt. And I'm talking to the couple, and the wife is in tears, right? Because the overwhelming burden of what it feels like to be a slave that far in debt, by having, this is money that we borrowed, that we said we would pay back, so at some point we have to. But just in seeing that emotion, so I think part of Rick's heart and wanting to have me come in and talk with you guys is that, this is very real stuff, and a lot of us have done it wrong, and that's okay, but it's about having a plan. So the more that you can learn and understand now, the more you can avoid the credit cards and the car loans. There's other ways to get what you want in life without having to borrow money from somebody to get it. So and the other part that I included in here is from Proverbs 6, "My child, if you have put up security for a friend's debt or agreed to guarantee the debt of a stranger, if you have trapped yourself by your agreement and are caught by what you said, follow my advice and save yourself. For you have placed yourself at your friend's mercy. Now swallow your pride, go and beg to have your name erased. Don't put it off, do it now." Now. Don't rest until you do. Save yourself like a gazelle escaping from a hunter or like a bird fleeing from a net. So I love this scripture, and Dave Ramsey does this whole thing on it. Has anybody done the full Financial Peace University? Yeah. So there's this part where he's talking about this scripture, and he's painting such an interesting picture. He reads this and he's like, great God, okay, yeah, so I thank you for answering my prayer. Now I know what I need to do, but I don't really get it. Like, what is this gazelle escaping from the hunter or a bird fleeing from the net? Like, what does that even mean? So he's flipping through the channels that night, and he comes on the Discovery Channel. And there's some gazelles just gazelling around. So if you have seen the Discovery Channel and you see the gazelles, who else is there?
Lions.
Lions, yeah. Cheetahs too, right? Cheetahs looking for some lunch. Right. The interesting thing is that the cheetah, right, it's the fastest land mammal. Right? It goes from like 0 to 40 or 45 in like 4 leaps. Just bam, super fast. The gazelle is nowhere near as fast. But the cheetah only catches the gazelle like 1 out of 19 times. 1 out of 19, even though they're way faster? Why do you suppose that is?
Is it because of stamina?
Stamina? Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good. I think there might be something even a little bit deeper. Let's. If you were the gazelle and you were being hunted, and you either got to live or you got to die, what would be one other thing that might get you moving a little faster? You're bobbing and you're weaving, you're dodging. How about motivation? The cheetah just gets some lunch. The gazelle gets to live. And so Dave Ramsey gets very animated and he's running across the stage and he's screaming, like, you gotta run. Like, if you get yourself in debt, if you want to get out of debt, you have to get super intentional and you've got to book it. Like, you've got to get out of the way of that cheetah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Cheetahs are hungry. No. And so that's the credit card guys. They're going to be sitting around at your college campus trying to sign you up. They're saying, come on, college kid. Here's a t-shirt. Sign up for a credit card. Say no thanks. You actually don't. I mean, sure, credit scores have their place, and there's certain merit in that. If you have money and you're good at paying bills, there is a manual underwriting process. At good banks, they can still lend you money even if you don't have a fully established credit score. So in the debt snowball, this is how you get out of debt. So luckily, most of us in the room don't have piles of debt, right? Right, Caleb? You don't have like $300,000 in credit card debt that you're working on. Nice work. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
You're heading in the right direction.
He doesn't know it, but the mortgage is in his name, right?
Anybody else? It's okay. We're not going to go too far on that. But this is what it looked like for my wife and I. So by the time we got serious about needing to free up cash flow so we could pay for the daycare bill for my son, we had about $500 left over at the end of the month. The daycare bill was $1,000 for one kid. I said, great, we have 9 months to figure this out. Did you guys catch that? Because it takes 9 months for a baby to grow. All right, just making sure you're still tracking with me. So there's our hospital bill, my wife's car loan, both of our student loans, the second mortgage, the first mortgage. Yeah, oh, that was bad. That's a place that I never want to go again. So a part of this, though, is that you assign a payoff ratio based on your minimum monthly payment and your total balance, and it helps you determine which one to pay off first. Now, some people would just automatically say, oh, take out the one with the highest interest rate. Well, that's not necessarily true. We want to look at, from a debt snowball standpoint, how do we pick up the most cash flow each month? So as we were talking about, we sold a TV, we cut some other expenses, and we had a lot more money left over at the end of the month. So we would use that to pay off the first one. So there's an $830 balance. Hey, on our example, we had $820 left over. So hey, in month 2, $10 and the hospital bill would be gone. And then you just freed up $250. You see that right here? So that whole amount would be freed up. And so that's what we did. We paid off the hospital bill and then we rolled it into the car payment. So now instead of $272, we added $250 on top of that. So we were at $522 paying off the car, right? Plus we had our $500 in regular monthly cash flow. So we actually had over $1,000 a month that we were putting on the car. So so that was like 10 months. It kind of, as it worked out. Anyways, so we had over $1,000. And then as more money kept coming in, because we sold some other stuff, we actually paid off the car in like 7 or 8 months. So we had our $1,000 for daycare money. Isn't that exciting? Mm-hmm. My son, somebody could watch him while we went to work. Nobody's excited on that? I was excited. We went back to 0. And we had to start over again. You guys probably don't think that's a super cool car. It used to be. It used to be. So it was a 93 Cobra. They only made...
Connor likes it.
Yes, thank you. It's a red Mustang. It's not as cool as the other one, though.
You got that classic look too. More classic.
I appreciate that you're calling it classic.
Yeah.
I think I am older than I think I am. So this car was a lot of fun. I took it up to Vandermeer. So it had a 5-speed in it. Not to get too far off track.